From time to time, unfortunately, the connection quality is diminishing. So I'm also trying to do all my best to be in a good quality contact with you. That means you will hear me. Carolina will let me know if there will be any problem that you cannot hear me. So let's start. Effective remote team management. Right now, we are in a specific situation. That's obvious for all of us. So I won't talk about just regular home office, because for many of us, including me, it is not just a regular home office. What I mean, I'm used to work in a home office way since year 2000, so almost 20 years. I'm doing my job at home, but the situation is different. Let me give an example. Home office is not only your position. Maybe your husband or wife is also in home office doing parallelly webinars side by side. Your children are not at school, but they are at home. You use 5 computers at the same time, and so on, so on. Many, many, many problems. So what I would like to focus today, just a moment, is underline differences. Let's start with my example. I mentioned you that I'm doing as an owner of the training company ExploHR. We used to do online trainings many years, but mostly it was something additional. For instance, the basement was the regular training, face-to-face, classroom training, or of course outdoor training, a lot of them. But what we have to switch now, almost 100% to the online way of doing training. No matter of the area, is it effective management or personal effectiveness? So to be honest, I'm also surprised with that situation, and we have to switch quickly to the completely online form of doing our job. I would like to start with explanation, short explanation, what will not be covered during our webinar. Why to explain that? Because that situation influences us from many directions and in many dimensions. So definitely it is a health problem, definitely politics, definitely economy, and also cash flow for your companies and also for your business partners. Of course, technology online and what has happened, for instance, during previous webinar, from time to time, we had some lack of the quality of our connection. I hope this time it won't happen, but strange times, difficult times. And of course, our home office also is influenced by our daily affairs, which cannot be done, or maybe not all of them cannot be managed, done the same way as it was few weeks ago. And I would like to underline, I don't want to be, let's say, simple good advisor for you, because I think it will be a waste of time. In the web, in the internet, you will find a lot of simple instructions, tips and tricks how to handle with that situation. So what I would like to do, I would like to inspire you during our webinar about the different dimensions, of course, of that situation, and looking for the agenda which you already received before that webinar. just have a look at the subjects: effective task assignment, leader and team communication, maintaining commitment and responsibility. All the subjects are pretty well known for you as managers. I would like to underline and I would like to focus on that, what to do differently right now. So only that, because of time limitations, of course. Let's start with that situation, pretty difficult, surprising. Let's treat it like a change, because from the business perspective, it is a change. Of course, sudden, of course, unexpected, of course, as it may be first time, never experienced by any of us, but a change. So going to the attitude, to the change, let's talk about our ability to change. Let's talk about that, what we can do with such situation. If we do not have influence to be in that situation, let's have an influence how we can manage with that situation. And probably nobody knows how long we should handle with that situation. So let's summarize what is characteristic in that specific change. It is new and sudden, definitely. But what I heard, for instance, we had a Zoom meeting with some of the members of our French-Polish business chamber that Monday. It was organized for, let's say, a small company sector. It was managed by president of our business chamber. And one of the participants representing, I think, one of the tax consulting companies, she said, "Oh, it was easier for us to adapt to that situation because we are used to work in a remote way since last 2-3 years. But even for us, let's say the size, the shape of that change was surprising, because right now we have to do everything, almost everything, in a remote way, online way." There were some mentions, okay, it depends on the business. Some of the business, it will be easier. But the data which I heard yesterday or the day before yesterday was that it was published by Leviathan Society in Poland, that 94% of the members of Leviathan Group, they declare that it touches their business, it influences their business. So almost everybody, almost every business. And it depends also on the kind of my customer. It was also explained during our Monday conversation that, okay, maybe it does not influence strongly my business, my way of doing our regular business, but our customers, yes, definitely. I had a teleconference yesterday, and one of the top managers of the tax consulting companies, of the tax consulting company, she explained, we can do everything, almost everything, in a remote way. But even we switch quickly to that situation. Unfortunately, one of our customers, they suspended cooperation with us because of cash flow reasons and necessity to reorganize the business. So sometimes it is a reason of my customer, not myself. The question is also, due to that change, what will be the conversion degree to online business? And what I would like in which way I would like to lead our webinar is think about the short-term perspective and long-term perspective. Okay, what will happen after that unpredictable period of time? should we plan maximum conversion, or it is a limited time, so let's survive it and then go back to the previous situation as before that change? And of course, will we go permanently to online way or not? So that change could make a lot of damages to the certain areas of business, but also maybe will push some of the companies, some of the business into different way of doing job, of doing business. As I mentioned previously, I would like to inspire you in two different time perspectives. What we should do here and now, just to keep a business alive, just to survive days, weeks, months, I don't know. And also have a look in the longer perspective. How about the future? If it happens to almost all of us, how to get, let's say, some lessons learned from that situation. I would like to invite you into the first short discussion, exchange of opinions. From your perspective, what is the biggest challenge? What are the biggest challenges of remote team management for you? I would like to give you 4 options, but if there is anything else except those 4 options, I will explain you a bit later why I choose those 4 options. But if you can just let me know, what is the biggest challenge for you? Is there anybody who would like to share his own opinion? To get a voice from Carolina? Okay, we've got some.
One person indicated A, engagement.
Engagement, yeah.
Any one of you? Maybe somebody else? Is it engagement, communication? Okay, the other person indicated support, and the other one, accountability.
Accountability. Okay, so we've got a mixture: engagement, yeah, support, accountability. So it is also indicator for me to spend how much time on each of those areas. So thank you for your reply. Let me. Oh, there is another comment. I see.
Yeah, B and D, communication and support.
Communication. So all of the areas are challenges. Why I choose those 4? In fact, it is not my choice. I would like to share with you results of Gallup Institute report. The title of the report is at the bottom of the screen, Leading Remotely. And you see it is brand new, freshly report from March, from that month, 2020. And the Gallup Institute underlined that there are 4 the most important, biggest challenges mentioned by managers in keeping teams engaged during, let's say, remote way of cooperation. So I would like cover all of those 4 dimensions in a few minutes. During next few minutes, but I would like also recommend you, maybe some of you already know that report. I mean Q12 12 questions Gallup Institute due to the employee engagement. It is quite interesting report because it underlines what we can do with people engagement in general. So that is why I don't want to follow that report, Q12, but based on that report, which I really strongly recommend you to to follow that report maybe after our webinar, just to focus on 4 dimensions which are the most important right now. As I already mentioned, I don't want to cover all the areas of that problem, just to focus what we should do differently right now. So let's move to engagement. From that report, now I will share with you, partly it will be data directly from that report, from Gallup Institute report, but some data, it is added by me from different conversations, from my own observations. So to be honest with you, it is a mixture of my personal remarks, and of course, most of them are from that Gallup report. So from Gallup report, it is direct information. Leaders are still responsible for 70% of engagement of people. So let's put the question, put on. If it is such important influence of leaders, what causes physical isolation of employees? How it influences engagement? Oh, maybe it will be a little bit only surprising, but influence could be positive and negative. Let's share with you some explanations. Of course, negative consequence is just a lack of team mobilization to work. But on the other hand, other opinions are that it is less of disturb and interference with the others. So both perspectives, depending, for instance, on somebody's personality. If the person is more social, maybe there is that person is suffering from lack of team mobilization. If it is more detached person, maybe it is a better situation because less of disturbance, less of interference of other people. Lack of direct external motivation. I mean, motivation from the leader, from the manager, definitely. That's interesting explanation, because from my direct conversations with leaders, they got also their own supervisors, of course. And they say, okay, maybe first impression was, okay, my direct supervisor has got less influence. Great, this is a great situation. But day by day, week by week, we feel, some of those people feel a lack of that direct external motivation. They feel frustrated by lack of that external motivation, mobilization. So there could be some, let's say, interesting, maybe surprising experiences for some of us because of that, not one day, but maybe weeks or months, permanent, almost permanent situation. And for other opinion, increase in meaning of internal motivation. That could be positive, that leaders, if they do not have direct external motivation opportunity, they should focus on the internal motivation. I will follow internal and external motivation later on only. So just to underline now that there is a difference. Okay, and now once again a question to you. Yes, this is a really general question. Can you motivate your people? Such a general question. If you could on the Q&A panel just say yes, no, could be only just one letter, Y or N. If you could now use that that option Q&A, I will have a look. Yes, no, yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Anybody has got opposite opinion?
Well,
Yes, yes, yes. I've got 3 times yes until now.
And 3 others, so 6 people said yes.
Yes, yes. Oh, so probably that's my role, to be the only one who will say, no, you cannot motivate your people. I can guess, I can imagine that you are you disagree with me. There are so many books about that, webinars, trainings, workshops, and so on and so on. So how can you say that you cannot motivate people? So to go deeper, I would say you are right and I'm right. We are talking about a different kind of motivation. You can motivate as a leader mostly, let's say mostly, directly in external way. I mean external motivation. Just an example. I want you to do that. So the reward be for you like that. So if you want that, you should do something else. So these all examples are examples of the external motivation. Let's say quite often the leader is stronger motivated than employee. That is why he uses external motivation. But of course, that kind of, but my explanation that you cannot motivate is due to the internal motivation, because internal motivation is that employee wants to do something because he is convinced to do that. He could be convinced in positive way, like example, it is worth to do that, it is great to do that, but also in, let's say, in brackets, negative way, it is necessary to do that. If we won't do that, the consequences will be, and so on, so on, so on. So as in that situation, I mentioned that it is a less opportunity to have direct external motivation because of the lack of the physical contact, for instance. Leaders should focus on that internal motivation. And internal motivation, it is unfortunately mostly to create circumstances of, in that situation, circumstances of home office that employee will motivate himself to do certain tasks, certain goals, get results, and so on, so on. So it is the real challenge for the leaders. Let people want them to do something. Of course, aligned to the strategy, aligned to the strategic goals, and so on, so on. So let me, okay. So I've got another question due to that. If internal motivation is getting more and more important in that moment, in that difficult situation for all of us, how to raise that internal motivation, how to create better, good circumstances to let employee motivate himself. So now I would like to invite you once again to the discussion, both options. If you want to write something on Q&A panel, or if you want to speak, just raise hand and ask Carolina to give you voice. Hello, anybody would like to? Sorry. Anybody? I see some replies here. On Q&A, yes, also. Do you hear me? I'm doing too many things on my panel. Carolina, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Have we got any replies? Oh, somebody would like to share opinion. Yes. Yes.
I cannot see any hands raised actually, but there is on chat. There is one reply. Start with yes. Start with I and yes. And there is another one. Yes. In my opinion, it depends of engagement on the daily work of certain person. You have it or simply you don't have it.
You have it or you do not have it. I would like to go to that subject because of course such a situation of the change, what could cause some of the people. Partly I agree with that opinion, but I would like to go deeper into that. What is perceived quite often during, let's say, big changes for the team. I would like to focus on that perspective. Big change for your team, that people could switch their positions in the level of engagement. I hope you agree, you understand what I mean by that. That because of the situation of the big change, some of people could lose some internal motivation, but some of the others could even get higher internal motivation. It depends also on the ability to switch to the new situation quite often. You remember that citation of Albert Einstein, that adaptability to the change is quite important. Let me remind you also the citation. I think it was Carol Darwin citation, that not the biggest or not the strongest, let's say, animals win, but those. Not even the most intelligent, but those which have got the highest potential of adaptability to the different situation. So
There's
yeah,
another comment. Maybe
yeah.
you have to give your trust to your people.
Oh, great! Thank you. I got that subject. I keep that till the end of our of a webinar, but definitely, especially in the remote management way, the level of trust. Both ways trust. Am I trustworthy, or can I trust to my people is the key point, definitely. And some of the leaders which have a feeling they've got a high trust with the teams, maybe it will be easier. But for some other teams, they feel that that level of trust is not as expected, let's say it could be a really hard period, and of course a kind of challenge of the level of trust. Thank you for that comment. So if there are no other comments, let me move forward. Yeah, I would like to add one thing to that subject of engagement. After after our webinar, you will get from Carolina also link to the short version of the TED presentation of Simon Sinek about the why. Start with why. But I hope that you will be also interested in viewing on YouTube even a longer version. So let me share with you with my example. Quite often I do the workshops in the subject project management. Yeah. Workshops right now, of course, only online version. And what is surprising, still surprising me, that, for instance, if we do the exercise project card presentation, so it is quite often, almost in every case, people present the goals of the project, which should be definitely the goals, expected results, time schedule, measurements, and so on, so on, so on. And of course, for instance, work breakdown structure, and so on, so on. But quite rare, they mentioned why we are doing that project. I mean, such a point like project underground, project reason, sometimes it is mentioned, is quite rare. So sometimes a project which costs millions of euro, dollars, zloty, has got precisely defined goals, but not explanation even for the project team members why we are doing that project. So Simon Sinek is explaining how important is knowing why. And now, why am I explaining that? Because especially in the, let's say, distance kind of cooperation with the team, explanation why we are doing that and that, why we focus in that, let's say, emergency situation, sudden situation, why that and that is important the most. So let's move to the communication, because you would like to spread our time partly for all 4 dimensions. About the communications, just quick few tips for you. What people perceive, lack of common communication, of common morning coffee face-to-face. It is also the citation from our Monday meeting on Zoom, that one of the participants of the Zoom meeting, that lady explained, we all work in a remote way, but me as a leader, I start the day with the video meeting and common morning coffee. What does she mean by that? That we are not talking immediately about the business, but we have together, of course, virtual, but morning coffee, talking about everything as it is in the office when we meet physically. Because, okay, there is a pretty fresh data right now, also in that report, which I citate from Gallup Institute, that people are strongly missing that, emotionally missing that. Lack of nonverbal signals. Even a high density camera does not show such nonverbal signals like really face-to-face contact. So we are lacking a lot of nonverbal signals. Do you like it or dislike it? Are you interested or you are losing interest? What I'm talking about. Limited exchange of information. Not only because of technical problems, because of that we are not physically in the one space. It is also used in a projects. If you have to speed up doing tasks in a project, you concentrate team members in one room, in one space, just to speed up the project. So now we are something completely opposite. Delay in information transfer, because there is no direct contact. Short, but delay anyhow. Difficult to check understanding of information. It is also linked with that lack of nonverbal signals, of course. And another thing we have to think about that, limitations, of course, of technology online. What happened quite often, that now we are pretty lucky about the quality of our connection. Okay, I hope it will keep the same quality till the end of our meeting. Accountability. Lack of common office rules at work. This is it is got to my mind because of the yesterday online video conference with the managing partner of the big consulting company. She said to me, Victor, I'm let's say a traditional person. I'm lacking of those office rules which keep my task in order. Now at work, I've got difficulties to organize myself because I realize how office rules are or were important for me. As simple as it is. Lack of office rhythm at work. Home office, it is not exactly the same, of course, not exactly the same as at work. There, at home, we've got different rhythm and, of course, different interrupters. Lack of direct supervisor at work, as it was mentioned previously also in the subject of engagement and also communication. Competing with work-home tasks. Oh, in internet there are a lot of, especially on YouTube, videos about the homework and what could happen behind you, especially if you are recorded during the video conference. So a lot of tasks which are competing with your patience, with your focus on work. And this is what was mentioned by you at the beginning of our webinar, that sense of temporary mode of work, but temporary. How long it will be temporary? Probably nobody knows. And if there will be some positive signals that the problem is diminishing, will it raise again or not? So nobody knows. What does it mean temporary? And of course, sense of emergency mode of work. But how long we could work in emergency mode? As many of leaders, as many concepts about that. But what I would like to underline right here, people feel a lack of confidence, people feel unsafety in that situation. And even if it is absolutely right that you cannot make plans for a long period, but maybe at least at week period or a 2 weeks period will be more safer for the people to know your plans. So share any plans, even if you have to change those plans many, many times. Let's say right now it is agility time, not only for the certain specific business. Right now, almost everybody should be agile. So to sum up accountability subject, how to raise and keep accountability. Any idea, any comments, anybody would like to share his own experience, her own experience or idea? Let me have a look what happens in Q&A. Oh, once again, you have to give your trust to your people. Definitely. This is a time for trust. In my opinion, it depends on engagement, on the daily work of certain persons. You have it or simply you don't have it. Oh, it was mentioned by Carolina previously. Carolina, do you have any other comments, for instance, on chat, not on Q&A? No. Okay. Sorry. I would like just to switch off Q&A panel. Yeah. Okay, so let me add something from my perspective to that what was mentioned in the accountability.
Okay, there is one more comment.
Oh, yes, great.
KPI. Setting clear KPI.
Setting clear KPI. Yeah, more clear than maybe before, because the lack of feedback, lack of direct observation. Yes, definitely. And about KPIs in that subject which Paul mentioned by the answer, I would like to add one thing from my perspective, if there are no more. Yeah, accountability starts with clear communication of results, of expected results. So in other words, KPIs. But I would like to underline one thing. And then you set up clear KPIs. And what then? What I would like to do with you right now, I would like to ask you, imagine a certain situation. When I was doing, it was a multinational project for the oil company, one of the big game players in that business. It was, let's say, a pan-Europe project. We gathered as a trainers in a headquarter, and we were responsible to implement designed by the company program in certain countries. I was responsible for Poland, and during the trainer workshop for us, for trainers, we had a meeting with the pilot. Now he's retired. He's also working for IATA Commission of Accidents and some such things. And he gave us a quite nice, simple, how to say it, he arranged for us, let's say, a simple quiz. This is my version. This is my because he was from Canada. We are in Warsaw. So let me use his example. He put the question to us. Just imagine. I will write something on my screen. Just imagine that the plane starts. It's a regular plane, regular flight from Ottawa. The plane flies to Warsaw, and I hope it is obvious for all of us. There is almost always the same course for the plane. Regularly, the plane flies the same way. The question from the pilot was, try to guess for how many % of the flight time the plane is directly on the designed course. I will repeat it. For how many % of time flight the plane is directly on the course? Any idea? If you could write down on the Q&A your proposals in percentage, what do you think? Okay, there are some answers. 10%. Thank you, Paul. Any others? Any other proposals?
30%.
30%. I don't see the other comments. Something has happened with my
comments. No, 2 comments are 30%. 1 comment is 10%.
Okay. So I was surprised by the answer, and I think I was surprised a little bit. Just imagine that it is less than 1%. Less than 1% of time, the plane is on the course, directly on the course. I hope that you won't cancel all your flights in the future because of that information. How it is possible? And he explained that pilot, he explained that no matter the flight is managed by automatic pilot or human, the flight, and he explained it, I will try to do my best, writing once again, how the flight looks like. Looks like that, something like that. Like that, like that. So that is why it is less than 1%. Why am I using that example? It is the answer for that previous question. Okay, setting up clear expectations, clear goals, or clear KPIs, and so on and so on. Yes, definitely. And this is the answer. And what then? And then, especially in the situation of the remote team management, we should do the job of the pilot. So not only navigate, it is called renavigate all the time, quite often, quite frequently renavigate, because if we want to do that, what could happen? And that pilot asked us, what will happen if there is no correction of the human pilot or automatic pilot? The plane almost immediately is losing direction here or there, on there, and so on and so on. So I would like to underline, especially in that specific situation, that renavigation may be even more often. If it was once a week, maybe now once a day. If it was once a day, maybe half a day. I don't know your business, you know it well, but probably, no matter of the kind of business, more often than it was before. Let's move to support. Oh my God, I'm sorry. How it could happen that I missed that slide? Okay, I will explain that in English. Okay. Murphy's rights. That's example of Murphy's rights. I'm really sorry. So about the support, especially first line, it's maybe a little bit surprising. Lack of a friend at work. Lack of the support of the friend at work, because I do not have physical contact with him. This is brought directly from the Q12 Gallup Institute questionnaire. I mentioned that before. What was really surprising that Q12 investigation of Gallup Institute, one of those key questions was, have you got a friend at work? And maybe you are surprised, such a strange question. What's the influence of that to the engagement? Q12 idea of the investigation was to find out 12 selective questions. What I mean by that? Gallup was trying to find out what differentiates effective versus ineffective teams, and found out those 12 questions. So if you answer on a certain question positive, your team is effective. If you answer negative, your team is ineffective. And one of these selective questions was, have you got a friend at work? Pretty surprising, but maybe you are now a little bit curious about that Q12 investigation. Last, let's say, last edition of that investigation was in the years 2014-16. Okay, Do you hear me? Okay. Oh, time limitation. Yes, yes, exactly. Another reasons that you have got a challenge in support. You do not see results of your work immediately. You have to wait for the reply from your leader. Lack of appreciation because your leader does not perceive so many aspects of your work. Lack of direct support from the leader. Feeling that you are alone at your work. That is why that morning coffee is such important for the people, it's such supportive. And lack of direct contact with the people. So I hope the rest of the slides are yes in the English version. And that's all what I would like to say about the support area because of limitation of time. If you would like to go deeper with the subject, that's my recommendation of the book in that area, of course, based on the Gallup investigation. Okay, now we are collecting all the dimensions, all 4 dimensions of the Gallup investigation into our agenda. Now I would like to, let's say, use that what we already discussed or we were inspired about that into that process. But I would like to ask you once again, think in 2 time perspectives, here and now, and of course, future. I don't know, close future or far future, maybe nobody knows it. So let's go to the task assignment. You mentioned quite a lot about that, clear goals, clear KPIs, and so on, so on. I would like to underline the most important things. Right now, I have to be honest. This is not everything about the task assignment. I choose just the most important things which we should do differently right now. That is definitely not a complete knowledge about that. First, less is more. Of course, nothing new, nothing surprising, but especially in that situation, less is maybe more. Second thing, it is not only clear explanation of your expectations, but very clear explanation. And the third, you have to think, oh, okay, going back to that, for instance, KPIs, you need remote result indicators. Maybe your kind of business is such specific that you cannot just transfer the same KPIs from the, let's say, face-to-face way of cooperation to remote. Maybe you have to adjust. Maybe you have to switch to different kinds. So shortly, briefly about those 3 aspects. Less is more. This is data from the book Stephen Covey, 21st Century Leadership. Previously, the name of the book was 8th Habit. And comparison, that as this is explanation, less is more. Less goals, higher probability to achieve results. This is just an example. This is just an assumption. There could be many exceptions of that, but let me use the comment of Peter Drucker. There is nothing more useful than a good theoretic model. That's theoretic model, but if it is good, simple, it is also practical to use it. Very clear explanation. Not clear, but a very clear explanation. What is here important? Once again, the subject of engagement. I don't want to explain here SMART, but for instance, what it's in SMART should be done differently or maybe more clear. Maybe those areas which are linked, for instance, with why, where in SMART is why? Probably in 2 letters, A and R. Achievable realistic? I would like to switch to the subject, a very clear explanation. To remote result indications. We can use that what is available in project management. I would like once again use project management example, because here I've got some, let's say, my own observations comparing. Let's compare our situation to the different kind of projects. Let's compare that what we have to do right now. I mean, remote team management or having virtual team. Let's compare it with the different kind of projects. One situation that you've got, let's say, your project team physically in one building, in one room, maybe, comparing to the virtual project teams, which are, let's say, located in different countries, even different continents. And what is remarkable from my perspective, from my observation, that especially for virtual project teams, the most important to manage results in an effective way, to have really clearly defined deliverables. If it is, if the team is present in one building, in one room, there could be material, for instance, prototype of something, a physical picture of something, or physical report. Of course, in a remote way of cooperation, it is transferred to the electronic, but still electronic proof or electronic proofs of tasks or stage of doing a task. The most important for the leader is to be sure it is done. Not only he says it is done, it is really done. I've got the proof. And of course, it is related also to the trust, which you mentioned previously. Some of you mentioned about the trust. If you are in a situation that you, because of any reason, you cannot be sure, you cannot trust in 100% to the certain person or to the team, you need to be sure it is done by clear deliverables. And the leader's communication. Once again, linked to that morning coffee, that leader's communication should be formal and informal. What I would like to underline, in the, let's say, office, physical office circumstances, usually beside of formal communication, there is informal communication. Maybe it is sometimes unconscious. It is just like that, because we are human. But in the situation of remote communication, maybe as a leader, you should to take care of that. You should arrange a period of time. For instance, morning coffee, spend 10-15 minutes just for a small talk. Like with the customer, small talk, nothing new. With team and personal, how to distribute my time. It should be both. What I perceived during last weeks, that in the moment of switching to remote way of cooperation, some of the leaders, they forgot about the personal communication. They explain, I spent a lot of time with team communication, so I do not have time for personal communication. Please remember, people need also personal communication with you as the leader. And of course, different, let's say, channels of the communication. Nothing new, except that the role or the importance of video conference is raising up higher. And what I would like to underline also, the rhythm of the communication. For instance, I already mentioned about the morning clearance or morning common coffee, team coffee, something like that, of course in the brackets. But what surprises people, now they are looking for that. Now they are missing if it does not occur, because we are social from the nature. Summary of the day. So it is also the citation from our Monday meeting on Zoom, members of the chamber, that it is a routine that many of managers are doing in the morning, and let's assume in the afternoon, at the end of the day, once again the contact with the whole team. Of course, not forgetting about the personal contact. And for instance, another way of the written plan of the week, maybe in such crazy times like right now, somebody would say, okay, I don't know what will happen tomorrow, or let's citate, would you like to laugh your gut? Tell him about your plans. Okay, all right, fine, but people need to know that you have any plan, any idea, any direction. Maybe you will switch it, maybe you will modify that, but you have any plan. It keeps them more safety. And of course, subject of we are going forward in the process, maintaining commitment and responsibility. Maybe some of you remember that advertisement, mind and heart, and there was a discussion, mind or heart. And what we should do, especially in that situation, it should be our focus, both. Of course, rational and emotional, especially that rational communication is what you will automatically manage. But do not forget about the emotional contact with the people, which is more difficult right now. Motivators and demotivators. I will explain it a little bit later, a little bit more. And motivation, internal and external. We are talking about that previously. So now we are, let's say, collecting that as blocks, simple small blocks or bricks, whatever. Rational. Of course, during team meeting or individual, you go to the facts, arguments. You can also work on team engagement by let them get into their own conclusions, to raise their internal motivation, delegate some decisions, of course, depending on your level of trust, share with them your plans, even if they are pretty short term and will be adjusted a few times. And focus on quick actions, maybe short-term actions. And of course, emotional. Remember about that every person of your teamwork has got different perception, and especially in that situation that there is lack of influence of other team members, his perception is not influenced by you such strongly as previously, is not influenced by other team members, it is even more influenced by other members of the family at home, because she or he spends most of time with the other people staying at home. Fears, experiences, beliefs, intuition, and habits, especially habits, because right now, if they do work at home, there are some home habits which are competing or struggling with office habits. Motivators and demotivators. I would like quickly underline one important thing. because quite often we are talking about raising engagement, and but I would like to underline another perspective. Try to keep engagement. Try to avoid diminishing engagement. And probably for some of you, it is quite clear what I would like to explain here. Dual theory of Herzberg about the engagement, about the motivation. I mean, there are motivators and demotivators, and because of the level of motivators and demotivators, we could have, let's say, okay, it is just simplification, definitely pretty strong simplification, but we could have, for instance, people in 4 situations. 2 of them, they are at, let's say, higher level of engagement, and 2 of them pretty lower. I don't want to move along that model because it will consume a lot of time. But what I would like to underline, one important thing, that and that option. For both of them, they perceive high level of demotivators. For some of the people, that situation of home office could cause a lot of additional surprising new demotivators because of the private life, which is different, and of course the way of work. And what is important, to perceive the difference between that guy, which is only frustrated, but with the high level of engagement, comparing to that guy, which has got also many demotivators, but he is burnout, not just frustrated. Both of them, they communicate anger, dissatisfaction, disappointment, or something else, let's say negative emotions to you. And because of that you are also in a stress situation, you perceive it is directly to you. This is also conversation from the yesterday video conference with one of the manager, of the leader, and she said, I understand, I'm prepared for that emotionally. I do not take it personally. It is, I see that the reason is the situation, not myself. Even if it is directed to me as a blame. Yes, but I do not take it personally, but I'm trying to be empathic. Do not take it personally. It is not the same that be not empathic. So I would like just to underline that one thing. Oh, maybe explanation. Both of them, negative communication, but that one, he cares. That one cares not. Once again, the difference between external and internal motivation, but we already discussed about that. I think it is clear for all of us. Effective remote monitoring. We are going almost to the end of webinar and almost to the end of the process of the agenda. As I mentioned before, less is more. You should also monitor only what you expect, especially that you've got the limited conditions of monitoring. So try to focus on that, what you really can, what you really can monitor, and it should be definitely what you really expect. So maybe less monitoring, but frequent monitoring. Because excessive control, especially in that home office situation, could lower the commitment. I don't want to say no control, definitely not, but do not, avoid excessive control, which could be, let's say, automatic reaction for many managers. I do not see them, I will access control. The most important is regular. So less goals, less results, but regularly controlled. I even use that here, the word rhythmic, in the rhythm that people are used, that okay, it will be reviewed again. I expect it. Of course, it was mentioned clear rules, but it was mentioned clear KPIs, and here also clear rules and control indicators. People know what is expected. People know how it will be measured and how it will be supervised. And rather more support than punishment. And let's say in general, I don't know any circumstances you are right now, but it is rather no time for assessment, mostly time for development. More time for lessons learned, something like that. So going to the sum up of our meeting, I would like to underline two perspectives. Here and now, of course, because we have to, let's say, save our business, reduce losses as much as possible and as quickly as possible, but also do not forget about the future, what we could learn from that situation, especially if I would like to be wrong. But maybe it is the first case like that, but maybe not the last, unfortunately. And at the end, going back to that, maybe the most important and maybe the most difficult question in that extraordinary situation: can I trust my people? We could talk about the trust hours, I guess. But as the time limitation, maybe for some of you it is pretty well known, the book. I would like to recommend you the book Speed of Trust. It is also available in Polish, Szybkość zaufania, by Stephen M.R. Covey. That's son of Stephen Covey. So the question is, what should I do in the, let's say, perspective of quick adaptation to difficult circumstances, to sudden circumstances, and how can I use that difficult time to develop, to be better prepared for different business? Many experts, they say that the world will not be the same as it was. I don't know. I really don't know. Are they right or not? Maybe partly right, maybe partly not. But why not to use that lesson to learn? So that's the last slide I would like to explain you. Here is my email address. If you would like to ask something more, if you would like to give some extra comments, especially that maybe we do not know, because there was a high interest about today webinar, especially of course in Polish version. Maybe there will be similar or even the same webinar within few days. So you will get the presentation after our workshop. You will get also the link to that short YouTube TED presentation of Simon Sinek, if you would like to be inspired by him. And yes, as you see, I've got a lot of work to do also to learn from that lesson in the space of effective management, personal effectiveness, implementation options. Because to be honest with you, we are only, let's say, selected amount of modules ready to do it online, but a lot of busy time to switch to the online remote way of doing workshops, training, and so on. So Thank you very much for your attention. Any comments, any questions? Because we've got extra few minutes of time to have some discussion. I'm looking at the question and answers.
If any one of you would like to ask a question, please do it now, because in 5 minutes we are starting another meeting, so less 5 minutes now.
Or once again, even if not now, here is your here you've got an email address to me. I will appreciate and I will be pleased to answer any question later on. Or you would like to raise hand to use your voice?
There's one question.
Yes.
I know. One other person have to go now, and thank you. And
but I see it is a brand new comment from Paul.
Oh yeah.
I have to go I have to go. Oh, thank you, Paul, for participation. I hope. Once again, I hope to see you live.
Yeah, many of participants have to go now
leave
because there were some thanks also on the chat. So I will send you presentation as
me too.
Before. Thank you for your attention, and
take care.
Consult our webinars. You are all invited, and I also like to precise that all of them are for free for you. So
thanks.
Thank
Stay
you.
home. Yes.
Have a great weekend. Yes.
Yes, and I hope to see you live soon.
Yes, indeed. Okay, thank you, Victor, for your presentation. And see you soon. Goodbye.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.